like a 4 mile shakeout the day before the race, kind of by Table Mesa.
Yeah.
Kind of did it reverse down to the river and back, and I was wearing the shoes I was gonna wear for race day, and I was like, whoa, this is more rocky and kind of beating up my feet more than I remember. And like I kind of was second guessing my shoes at the time. And in case like, well, are you gonna change your shoes? I'm like, no, because I didn't bring anything else. Like I'm pretty committed right now.
Hey everyone, we are back with another Gotta Run Racing episode.
Indeed.
What is going on in the world of Gotta Run Racing?
We're coming up on March, which means a new province for our We Run the North virtuals.
That's still going strong.
Still going strong, and we're heading into Saskatchewan.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
One of these days we're going to get to one of all these national parks.
Yes, we're going to do it all in 1 year.
Wow,
When we
okay.
have our RV, and we're going to run in each of them.
Okay, that's the plan.
That's the plan, Stan.
Wow.
Yes.
And who do we have on the podcast today?
Well, here's a hint. The big race this past weekend that I'm sure many of you were live streaming, Black Canyons.
Black Canyons.
And it was quite an epic competition on both the men's and the women's side.
It was very close for the top three guys coming into that finish line.
It sure
Only
was.
by a matter of minutes.
Sure was. And we have the winner!
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Anthony Costales! How exciting! So let me tell you about Anthony.
Yeah, let's hear about Anthony.
Okay, he's from California, lives in Salt Lake City.
Yep.
Anthony is a marathoner.
Originally.
And now he's come to the dark side. He's a 2:13 marathoner, which is very, very close to Olympic standards.
Yeah, he must have been going for the national team.
Yeah, and he's been doing ultras for about 5 years now. In 2018, he won his very first ultra in his backyard down in Moab. That's the Red Hot 55K. Then he won a 50-miler the following year. And he went on to win his first 100K in 2021 at the Canyons, earning him a Western States ticket.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about that.
Yes,
What
because
else?
he did not go to Western, so
Oh.
we'll have to find out why he did not.
Okay.
And then he came in second in his first 100-miler that same year at Run Rabbit Run.
Oh.
This past weekend, he of course set the new course record at Black Canyons at one of the most competitive fields in that event's history.
Well, that's quite the resume.
Sure is.
I can't wait to hear about all that and more.
All right, let's get to it.
Here is Anthony coming up.
Obviously, we want to start off by congratulating you on your amazing performance at Black Canyons this past weekend and setting the new course record, 7 hours, 32 minutes. Have your feet touched the ground yet? Has it settled in?
Yeah, it's good. It was a lot the first couple of days, but yeah, everything's starting to settle back to reality a little bit more. Walking normal as well now too. So yeah, everything's getting back to normal life.
What's the first thing you do after an epic run like that? Do you go to Cheesecake Factory or what's the?
No. Right. No, nothing special on food that I get right away. Just honestly, whatever I can eat that works out. And then, I mean, honestly, a lot of times I just got to get back to work pretty quickly after. And, which is always funny sometimes when I'm walking around all funny and the kids are like, what'd you do? And I was like, oh, I did a race. How far? And I'm like, I don't even really want to talk about it because you're going to ask too many questions.
Well, we are definitely going to obviously talk about Black Canyon. But before that, you were obviously a very accomplished marathoner before ultras.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of fast marathoners are now getting into the ultra scene. We're just wondering what made you switch over from serious marathon running to ultra running.
Well, I was doing I started, my first marathon was in 2014 and then kind of dabbled with it. My big breakthrough marathon was in 2017, but 2 years leading before that, I was already doing some trail running as well. Like it was shorter. I did a half marathon trail race up at one of the ski resorts near us in Salt Lake, and then did the Moab Trail Marathon. That was like a USATF championships. So I did that 2 years in a row before, right? One of the years right before, like I had like a really breakout marathon, that the one that most people talk about. So yeah, I was already kind of doing the trail stuff. Tim Tolson was an alumni of mine at Chico State, and he kind of had broadened my eyes on the ultra stuff. Living in Salt Lake, people are really into it, and they kind of broadened my eyes about it.
All right, so you ran Black Canyons last year. What did you take from that race that you then applied to this year, if anything? If anything, things change, but
yeah, I took a lot of just a couple different strategies for handling the heat. Even though it wasn't as hot this year, was one of the main things. I'd said it a bunch from Table Mesa, the very last cruise station, with about 10 miles to go to the race. I went in it last year and didn't. I only brought liquid calories out, and I left there. And as soon as I left with only liquid calories, I realized like there wasn't anything for me to get myself wet and stay cool the whole way in, and it really just like kind of messed with me mentally. It was about 15 degrees hotter. It was much hotter day, but there was like a slight wind where if you were just had the slightest bit of like water on you or just moisture going on, it really wasn't that bad. But if like you were completely dried out, it was a pretty brutal hot day in February in Arizona. So yeah, that was like my big mistake of the day. I made a couple of tactical mistakes that day where I kind of didn't realize. I kind of thought I was in a different position than I was until halfway through the race. And that was one big thing that I was kind of keeping tabs on through the first part of this race, which went really well. So just a lot of extra mental things that went right, and just a lot of things that kind of fell into my favor this time, where last time it was kind of backwards, I guess, is the easiest way to say it.
Was this your A race for the last few months? Was this the one you were focusing on the most?
Yeah, this was the one. Probably started thinking about doing it back in October. As soon as I was like started to gear up towards that, start barely building up some miles, and then November, December came around, and the list just got really competitive. My main goal this year is go to the most competitive races I could find. It's kind of what I want to do, and not shy away from the competition. And I saw a couple names, and like one really big name got on there, and it was like a done deal. But let's go do this. Like you don't get to race people like that very often, so take your chance. A lot of the big races sometimes we can't get into. I'm talking about Tom. Yeah, Tom. As soon as I saw Tom in it, that was the big motivation, and I just someone that I've looked up to on the way he trains and conducts himself as an athlete. So yeah, once I saw him on there, and it was just getting so much more of a quality race, it was a no-brainer to make sure to go out there with the course experience as well. So yeah, pretty much just only a focus on that. A lot of people have been asking me what the next thing is, or if I take the ticket or that, and so my answer was I'm going for Black Canyon, and I'm going to go compete as hard as I can in Black Canyon, and I'm not worrying about a ticket or if I'm in a position for a ticket. I just want to go compete really hard.
Yeah, one race at a time.
Yeah.
Let's now.
Yeah, one race at a time.
Exactly.
Yeah, a lot of people, as soon as they got done with it, they're like, "Are you gonna do this?" And I'm like, "I'd like to walk straight or get these toenails fixed up before I start thinking about my next race."
That's right. So now let's dive deep into Black Canyon, and of course, we all were watching it live. But what we've noticed right off the gun is that it looked like a 5K race. Everyone is gunning.
Yeah.
Is that what it felt like? Take us through the beginning of this race when everyone just took off.
It looks, I think, a lot fast. I mean, it is pretty fast. splits wise. It's just the easiest part of the train is the first 20 miles. I think there's like one small little climb around 3 miles, and other than that, it's instead of climbing a couple hundred feet, you're descending a couple hundred feet. The trail is also the most smooth part of the trail of the day, and it's just there's so many. Both the years I've done it, like there's so many people just in a line on this single track that are just kind of running together like a train. I say it looks like a college team that's out for like a Sunday long run or something, and it's pretty cool that it's like that packed up. I think the single track makes it a lot different. The first 20, and like also within it, there's like no real big punches that like splits up the field in that first 20 miles. So that's why I think everybody stays pretty close. It's just a relatively smooth first 20, and then as soon as you get down to the first cruise station at Bumblebee, as soon as you leave that, there's like the first real big punch of the day, and things start splitting up pretty quick after that.
Yeah, let's try to break this down into thirds.
Yeah, right. That's what it kind of was.
Thirds.
Yeah.
When did you find your rhythm in this race? When you finally were able to catch your breath?
Yeah. Rhythm was pretty good the whole time. I leaving Bumblebee at mile 20, I felt like I was in a really good spot. Kind of knew where the leaders were. A couple were ahead of me. Cole Watson was 2 minutes on us, and Tom was about a minute on me probably at that point. And I was running with one other guy, John Ranieri. And yeah, we were in a good spot, I thought. The leaders weren't too far away. And just kind of floated through that next section, knowing I didn't need to do too much. And really, if I wanted to make a move by Black Canyon or make sure I was with them by the time we left Black Canyon was the main idea. It was probably like the most lonely and like kind of frazzling part of the race. I'd say that third. I kind of got out there on my own, like around 50K, and it was starting to get pretty hot, or a lot more hot. It was like a section where it kind of feels like it should be easy on this dirt road, but it is harder than it really is. And I kind of remembered it from last year, but it just kind of messes with you a little bit. Couldn't see the two guys that were in front of me, and it started out a little bit, and then crossed the river right before we did the last like ascent to Black Canyon. And as soon as I crossed it, I noticed I was like actually right behind those two guys that were together. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm in a good spot. And I know I could kind of get up to them right at the aid station, which is like the perfect area to kind of bridge this gap. So it just really just played out into my favor, and the area caught up to them.
Do you prefer the chase, or do you want to be the
so that was like the second thirds of the race, or second part of the race, I guess is the way I would describe it. Do I prefer the what?
Do you prefer chasing or being chased?
Oh, I definitely prefer not so much I don't mind chasing. I do like chasing. I guess the better answer is like I like catching and then catching like the second half of a race rather than getting caught up to, and then
that may
need to assess once I get caught up to. I think that's the big one is even if like you're feeling good and somebody catches up to you, it's never like it never feels great. So yeah, I liked just the way it worked out really well. Getting excited, chasing and catching, and then being able to like be like, okay, now that I caught you, I'm ready to be the one that really pushes it after this, which is pretty fun.
Right.
Yeah, because if you're passing people, then you are in a good position. Obviously, you're passing people.
Yeah. Yep. You're always in a good position if you're passing people mentally and numbers in the race, right?
At what point did you take over the lead?
We left Black Canyon, and then Tom and I ran together for about a mile and a half or so, and then as soon as we started to drop across the river, you go across the river, and I had a little bit of a gap on him, but not much. And we crossed the river, and you start like pretty much the biggest climb of the day, and it's about 2 miles, 700-800 feet, which doesn't sound like too much, but on that course it is, and the exposure, it's it's the hardest climb of the day, and I didn't know if I was going to be able to drop him there. So, and I kind of looked back after a half mile, and he was right behind me if anything caught up to me. So I was like, okay, push, but you don't need to do everything you can up this to try to drop him. He's a really good climber. That's probably not the best idea. So I just had a good pressure on him, I felt. And those were the only actual splits of the day that I kind of did look at. Like for a mile, I knew like if you were running 9-minute miles on those ones, like you're in a pretty good spot.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, as soon as I got the plan was I was like, he's still kind of behind me at the top of this and I didn't drop him. As soon as I get to the top of this and we peak over and it starts to become downhill, I'm just gonna risk it all and I'm just gonna hammer as hard as I can for like the next mile, just to hopefully frazzle him or just get him to where he doesn't want to make that move, and we'll just see what happens out here, because I just knew from course experience, from aid station to aid station, it's 9 miles, and it's just a long time to not see a single soul out there by yourself. So that was the idea, is like get him in an uncomfortable spot as best as possible.
Is that the section, Anthony, that's pretty technical?
Yeah, that's gonna be the most technical section. As soon as you get over the top of that, and then the next it'd be probably 7, 8, 9, about 12 miles is probably the most technical part of the day, and it varies. Some of it's not too bad at all, and then some of it, there's a handful of sections that is like pretty rocky and loose, that just kind of beat down your quads quite a bit, and you're getting pretty tired at that point because you're about 45 miles in. So yeah, it get small things become bigger, it feels like, right there. Last year it felt like after Table Mesa it was like the worst, but that's just because I was feeling really bad last year by the time I left that aid station. And this year I looked at it and realized, I'm like, oh, this section is very runnable and actually a nice trail, just because I felt so much better.
Exactly. What a difference a year makes.
Yeah. What a difference it does make.
When you pass Tom, do you guys share a little bit of words? You have a little conversation back and forth, or do you just go past them?
Yeah, Tom and I, and we were together for about a mile and a half of chit chat, and talked about a couple of things, and it was not too much went on, and then as soon as it got quiet, that's when I kind of like politely, I guess he said, asked if I could get in front of him and basically get the pace moving a little bit faster, because I think he was trying to slow things down actually a little bit.
Oh.
Well, I watched the after show.
Not too much talk because it got pretty serious.
Yeah, I can imagine. I watched the after show, and when Tom admitted that he considered dropping, the look on your face was like, what? You had no idea that he had considered dropping. I think, what is that, Table Mesa he was talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, which really surprised me, because I knew like the last river crossing before which is about a little over a mile and a half before Table Mesa, there's a climb out of it, and I was able to kind of see him cross the river as I was up the climb. So I knew he wasn't too far behind. So, and I saw him one more time even after the aid station, and hearing him saying he was almost going to drop when I felt like he was that close really surprised me that that was going through his head, of giving up when you're really not too far out of first, or just me messing up one little bit and being able to catch right back up. Yeah, awesome. I'm really glad it didn't drop though. I think it just made the day, like, for both of us, that much more special, just to really battle it out to the line. And it was just a pretty close race for 100K.
Absolutely. You did allude to what's next. You do have a ticket. And I did also hear you mention on the after show that you were contemplating another race on the same day as Western, which was the UTMB marathon. So it's only been a few days. You don't have to answer the question, but have you decided what you're going to do next?
It's definitely heavily favoring towards Western States, mostly because like I went into that idea of this year of go seek out the best competition, even though the Mount Blanc Marathon has pretty amazing competition as well. Western States just has a lot of the guys that I've wanted to compete against for a long time, and then to do it all in one day is the biggest motivation right now to go there. It is just kind of a bummer because like that's the other race I have wanted to do for years, so it seems like it keeps getting put on the back burner, and it's in an amazing location, and they've offered to support me for a couple of years, and I keep saying I'm going to go there, and then something comes up, kind of deal. So yeah, but right now, yeah, planning on taking the ticket all the way till June.
And see what happens.
Yep.
Well, we're going to Chamonix for the big one in August. Norm's finally getting to do it, so
Awesome. That's so cool.
pretty excited about that. And you are a free agent, so we sure as heck hope, and there's been lots of Twitter chat. We hope you're getting phone calls.
Yeah, I heard about that last night on a different podcast I did. I wasn't aware, and yeah, I guess a lot of chat about it,
Well, we are.
which
in
is
your
funny.
camp.
Hopefully a good thing.
Now, obviously, North America would
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
North America would love to see you at Western, but I'm sure Europe would love to see you over in Chamonix. So
It's a big choice. It's a
Yeah,
big decision.
it is a big decision.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it is.
And
Yeah.
it's just
One
as
of the
big,
oh
if
yeah,
not
it's
more.
just a big decision.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they're just both competitive in a different way. I think sometimes the U.S. market doesn't understand like how competitive some of those that race over in Chamonix, the Mount Blanc Marathon that's associated with the Golden Trail Series really is. Like it's just those. It's not that household U.S. names, but it's a monster of just lists of guys that are just so good as
Yeah,
well.
exactly.
Well, Black Canyon is, I give it 5 years, maybe sooner, that it's going to be a very international field. There was 3 international finishers in the top 8.
Yeah, I think Black Canyon has a lot going for it with it's a golden ticket, which is crazy how quick that could change it to be not nearly as competitive if that gets taken away. It's a race that's the cool thing about it is if you wanted to sign up the week before the race, there were still spots for you to open or go sign up, which isn't always the case for a lot of the more competitive races. And then what Jamil is doing with this live stream stuff is just really pushing it, and I think brands are going to want athletes to go to those type of events too, because the whole time they're athletes getting shown through this live broadcast. So even if they don't do well, it's still a good exposure to the brand for them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that every time they do a live broadcast, it's gotten better and better. And it's so exciting because, everyone has FOMO, whether you're there or not. And being able to turn it on your laptop and watch has been amazing. And it gets more people talking about it and bring more people to the sport, which is what we're essentially after, especially after the 2 years of pandemic. And we're race directors. We're still suffering the consequences from that because races are not getting the same participation yet as they were before. So anything to talk about ultra is good, whether it's bad or good. It's all
whether
good.
it's a hot take or not, it's getting it out there. Yeah, that's true. That's funny.
So I personally wanted to ask you, and trust me, I am never in a race to be on a podium, but what's your advice? Because I have to tell you, the kicking rocks in Elephant Mountain, my toenails are still sore. And everyone says that running on slick rock is so much better. So what's your advice?
Because you have a race coming up.
3-day stage race.
3-day stage race and it's Moab, right? I did actually a fair amount of my training on some slick rock, and I did 150K out of Moab 3 weeks before Black Canyon, and it had a huge piece of slick rock on it, and I almost thought, I'm like, man, this was more technical and beating me up more than I was hoping to. like during the race, and then I got out to Black Canyon, and even though I was there the year before, I just did like a 4 mile shakeout the day before the race, kind of by Table Mesa.
Yeah.
Kind of did it reverse down to the river and back, and I was wearing the shoes I was gonna wear for race day, and I was like, whoa, this is more rocky and kind of beating up my feet more than I remember. And like I kind of was second guessing my shoes at the time, and in case like, well, are you gonna change your shoes? I'm like, no, because I didn't bring anything else. Like I'm pretty committed right now. And so I guess like the answer is like if you would have told me before Black Canyon which one was more technical, I would have said the Moab one. But I think beating up your feet more, the Black Canyon Elephant Rock stuff actually might be worse. So yeah, you'll love it. You'll forget about your feet because the scenery is so good out there.
Yeah.
It's just an amazing special place. That's just it's just endless out there. The desert just so wide open and so much open land. You'll really enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the scenery kind of takes my mind off it.
It will.
Good.
Well, to sum this all up, big congrats on Black Canyon. And we want to know if you have any other bucket list races and maybe something in Canada.
I don't know all the races in Aztecs. I was actually asking Corinne Malcolm this question the day before Black Canyon about like what like bigger races are out in Canada, and she named quite a few. But we went up to Banff I think like 2015, and we fell in love with it and have wanted to go back ever since, like to that area. So if there's any kind of races that you guys would suggest in that area, I'm all ears because it's definitely one of the most incredible places I've ever been. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, you should
And
check
then,
out Gary Robbins' Squamish.
Gary Robbins, Squamish,
Gary
okay.
Squamish, the 50-50. They do a 50-miler and a 50K back to
I
back.
think that is one of the ones I've like looked up and saw. Okay, is it like you do one day and then one the next day, or is
You
it?
can.
You can, yeah.
Okay, is that you can do it, or just one or the other?
Yeah,
Okay,
right.
Yeah.
yeah, all right.
But epic climbs, epic Rockies, like can't go wrong.
You can't go
Can't go
wrong.
wrong.
Yeah.
All right, I'll have to write that one down. Cool. Yeah.
Well, this has been great. Thank you so much, Anthony, and we really appreciate you taking the time out.
Thank you so much for having me on. This was a great show.
Is this your first podcast with Canadians?
Yes, it will be the first podcast with Canadians.
Yay!
Yeah.
Welcome to Canada.
Well, thanks so much for having me on. That was a lot of fun.
Thank you, and we'll be paying close attention to whatever happens in June.
All right, sounds great. All right. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you.
too.
You too.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
There you have it, the winner of Black Canyons 2023, Anthony Costales.
Fresh off his hot win at Black Canyons. There's so many things about this race that interest me is when they juggle for position, he said, and then when they finally pass Tom,
Mm-hmm.
they have a little bit of a conversation. I like that. And
we barely touched on the live stream, but quite honestly, it's really
it's the future, obviously.
It's the future,
Yeah.
and it's awesome to see it happening more and more. And I think that there will be, like at UTMB and all those European races, there will be companies that take this over and do it at many races.
Yeah.
And it broadens the spectrum of the sport, makes people more aware of what's going on, and appreciate these incredible athletes.
Yeah.
These guys need to be in the Olympics.
The sport needs to be in the Olympics.
They're training just as hard as
anybody else. As the person who comes in last place.
That's right.
It doesn't matter.
No. Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
And we might have a couple more Black Canyon finishers coming up.
Yes. I also like the fact when he knew that there was going to be some big names at Black Canyon, he thought, okay, the race is on. Like, he was excited.
Yes.
Excited to see what he can do. Because Black Canyon, I think, is going to turn into a real international event.
Absolutely. And we'll see how long it will last that you can sign up a couple days before the race.
A couple of days.
Perhaps a lottery is in their future.
Yeah, it would be too bad.
It would be too bad, but...
Anyway. And he did learn a lot from last year's Black Canyon that he took into this year. Obviously, almost an hour off his time.
That's huge.
And of course, we would like to see him at Western. But if he has other plans going to Europe, hey.
Go for it.
Yeah. Let's see what you can do against Europeans. That's it.
Yeah.
Until next time, stay tuned.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.